So I'm going to briefly go over how to access your photos on the network, how to bring them over to your computer, open them up in Photoshop, and just do a couple little quick filters on them to help them get ready. Okay. So currently I have all of the photos on the L drive, the lessons drive on the school network. In order to access that, if you look at the very bottom of your screen, your icons, you'll see one icon right there, student lessons. It's like a manila folder with a blue letter A in front of it. That's your student lessons icon. If you click on that, you should see a whole list of teacher names. Okay. Now, some of you might click on that and not get this list. It'll just take you to your documents or to your profile folder. If you see that, what that means is you need to refresh your network connection. So you will need to go, if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and run through this real quick. If you go to the L drive and you do not see that list of teacher names, then you'll need to go to your desktop, go to CGHS Tools. In my case, it's right here. Yes, I know my desktop is a mess. Double click on that. You will see an icon called Login Script. Double click that, hit Run. It'll bring up a little box. It'll make some code go by. Just let it do its thing. Don't touch anything. After you do that, then you should be able to go back to that folder, click on it, and it should show up. If for some reason that still doesn't work, try restarting your computer. Okay? All right, you're going to go to kempel.chris, which is my name on the network. You're going to go to 2018 Stipple portrait photos right here. You're going to double click on that. You're going to find your period, period 1. Here's a listing of all the photos. What I do is go to view and I hit like large icons or extra large icons, and that will show, yeah, I know. That'll show everyone's photo, okay? It makes it easy to identify. All right, here's the part where there might be some potential for bad things to happen. So listen carefully. All you need to do is find your photo, no one else's photo, just yours. All right, I'm going to right click, find the photo that you want, and select it. If you have more than one photo you want to select, hold down Control and select both of them. Okay? Then you're going to right click and go to Copy. Nothing else, just copy. That will copy those files to the clipboard. You can then close out of that folder. Then what I want you to do is somewhere on your desktop, make a new folder, or somewhere on your computer in your documents, somewhere where you know you're going to find it. Create a new folder. Name it, I don't know, Stipple reference photo. Now I'm going to open up that folder. Going to right click again. I'm going to hit paste. Now it is pasting those two images onto my computer. So now what I have is I have my own local copies of those photos that I can then use. I don't want to just remove the copy from the L drive and alter it. All right. You want to make a copy and save it to your computer. Because if you're at home or you're somewhere else and you want to access that photo, you can't do it from the L drive because you won't be connected to the school network. So you need to take your photo off the network, put it onto your computer. That way you've got your own copy of it. It also helps you because if for some reason you screw your photo up, you accidentally delete it or you really mess it up, then you can always delete it and go back and get a new fresh copy from the network, from the L drive, and then recopy it over to your computer. So you guys need to get in the habit of making copies, making backups of digital files. Okay? It will really save your bacon later on. Okay? So now that I have my photos on my computer, I'm going to open these up in Photoshop. All of you should have Photoshop on your school computers. Mine, I have as a icon pinned to my taskbar down here. Okay, it's the little blue PS, stands for Photoshop. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to launch Adobe Photoshop. All right, if you do not have it on your taskbar, then you would want to go to your Windows icon and look it up in your apps list. Right, we all have our list of apps. See all these Adobe products? We have the whole Adobe suite on our computer here. Out of all these programs, all I ever really use is like Photoshop and maybe Illustrator sometimes. But they're good to have. So if it's not on your taskbar, find it in your apps list, and then you can always drag it over and create an icon for yourself. Okay? But this is Photoshop right here. All right? Later on in the year, in the spring, we will do a more extended project lesson about graphic design in Photoshop. But we are not going to do that right now. So there are lots of buttons and menus and things here that we are just going to ignore because we don't need them right now. We are only using Photoshop for one specific purpose right now, and that is to edit your photo and get it ready to use to draw from. Okay? Now, once you have Photoshop open, you can either do a file open or you can drag an icon from a folder to your icon on your taskbar and then let go, and it'll take a second depending on the speed of your computer, which in my case is usually slow, but it will open. There you go. Look at that smile. What a handsome devil. Okay. But again, if you want to do it the other way, go to File, up here to the File menu, go to Open. Then you simply, find the folder. Like I'd go to Desktop. Then I would find the correct folder and do it that way. Okay. Now, what you want to do is up here on your toolbar, you're going to have, you've got all these icons here. Don't worry about all these. Go to the rectangular marquee, the second one down. It's at the little dotted rectangle. Okay. Whenever you select a tool in Photoshop, Like this is the move tool, this is the selection tool. What this selection tool does is it just creates a selection within an image, and it basically is telling you, I only want you to pay attention to what's inside the selection. Up top here, you've got an option menu, and this changes depending on which tool you have selected. So if you look up here, right now I've got the marquee options up here because I have the marquee tool selected. But if I go to the move tool, you see how the information up here changes depending on the tool I have selected, okay? So right now I've got my marquee tool selected. Up here you'll see a thing called style right here. And you have choices. If you click on this, it's a pull down menu, normal, fixed ratio, or fixed size. Normal means you can just do like any size thing you want, right? Like that. I'm going to Control D to deselect. But what you want to do is change it from normal to fixed size. And then right next to this fixed size, you'll see width and height. I'm changing my width to 8 inches. I mean, I've already got it changed here, but you would click inside the box, change it to 8 IN, and then 10 IN. So you've got a width of 8 inches, a height of 10 inches. Those are the dimensions of our drawings, okay? Now if I click inside here, it's going to create one single box automatically. No matter where I click, it's going to do it. That's 8 by 10. If I then click inside and drag inside the selection, it's going to allow me to reposition this to anywhere I want. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to, just, you kind of have to eyeball it a little bit. I'm going to take this to about there and center this so that, I don't have too much empty space up top, just a little bit. Now I'm going to go up to image and I'm going to hit crop. Okay, image crop. What that's going to do is it's going to take away everything that was outside the selection and only save what's on the inside. So now I have an 8 by 10 inch image. Okay. Another thing I should mention is up here, I have my rulers turned on. You probably won't when you first open Photoshop. So if you want rulers to measure and make sure you're really doing 8 by 10, go to View and go to Rulers and just check that on. See, if I uncheck that box, the rulers go away. But I kind of like having my rulers up there, so I'm going to go back to View, turn the rulers back on. Okay? Now, we want to do a couple of other things to this image. All right? By the way, to zoom in and out, I am using Control-Alt+ to zoom in and Control-Alt- to zoom out. All right? Because we are doing a black and white drawing, stippling is black and white, it's easier, in my opinion, to get rid of this color and convert this to a black and white image. So that's our first step. Go up to Image once again, go to Adjustments, and then go to Desaturate. Click on that. I now have a black and white image. Desaturate takes all the color information out, and it's a grayscale image. Well, it's technically an RGB still, but all the black and white is all that remains. So now basically we have values, right? We've taken all the color out. Now we are seeing nothing but value. It's all, everything on the value scale, which is what we want. If you find that your image is maybe a little on the dark side or it needs to be lightened up a little bit, go to Image Adjustments, go to Levels, and you'll see something that pops up called a histogram. And this is basically like a chart showing all of the light and dark levels in your image. If you click on the white triangle and slide it to the left, it will make the image brighter. But if you slide it too much, it starts to get washed out. You lose all that detail. So you don't want to do that too far. If you drag on the black or the dark triangle, it darkens the image. Okay? Sometimes if you just hit auto, it does a good job of regulating. So you could probably just hit auto and be okay, and it'll kind of. All right, I'm going to hit Control Z to undo it so you can see the before and after. Not much difference there. It was already a pretty good picture. Okay. One last thing I want to do is I want to sharpen this a little bit. All right, this photo looks pretty good. If I zoom in, all right, it's got some pretty good detail. Yes. Give me a smooch. All right. But we want to try to sharpen this up just a bit if we can. So if you go to Filter, up here to Filter, then go down to Sharpen, then go to Unsharp Mask. You kind of have to play around with these sliders. You don't want to over sharpen, but if I take my amount up to like, anywhere between 50 and 100, I'm going to do like about 65. And my radius, I usually take up to about 3 or 4. If you do it too much, it gets really grainy. You don't want to do that. So just a little bit. Maybe a 5. Okay. I usually don't mess with threshold. I just leave that alone. Then hit OK. You can really tell when you get like in the eyes and stuff. Like this is before the sharpening. This is the after, right? So you got a little bit more clarity, like in the eyebrows and stuff. That's helpful when you're trying to get specific details. Okay? So that's all you really need to do for your photo. You want to crop it to an 8:10. You want to desaturate it. And then you want to maybe play a little bit with the levels and the sharpening. Do an unsharp mask. That's it. Now I'm going to save this. Instead of saving over my previous file, because if I want to have my backup, go to File, do Save As instead of Save. All right, and I'm going to rename this. Whatever, if I were you, I would just name it your name or whatever. But it's up to you. So just, name this something different. Definitely save it as a JPEG. That's fine. And just, name it whatever. Just something different from what it was, and then hit save. And that will, and I'll go ahead and take this all the way. When you save it as a JPEG, it'll ask for image options. Take it up to maximum, because a JPEG is a compressed file, and sometimes the compression takes away details. So save it as the highest JPEG you can. And that's it. Now the last step in this is you want to add a grid, because the grid is what helps us copy the image over. So go to View, go to Show, and then go to grid, which is up here. Now, you might not be able to see it right now. So what you want to do is if it's not visible, you want to go over to edit, go down all the way to the bottom to preferences, go to guides, grid, and slices. Click on that. You want a grid line every 1 inch. And the number of subdivisions is 1. Or it might even be 0. We can change that. You can also change the color. So if the blue isn't working well for you, like it currently is, you simply change it to a red or whatever. See, right now it's, and you can do dots, like solid line or dash line. I'm going to make mine red just so you can really see it. Then hit OK. Okay, now I've got a grid. Now what the next step in this is you're going to get your white drawing paper. You're going to draw an 8 by 10 rectangle. Then you're going to do a 1 inch by 1 inch grid very lightly on your drawing paper. And you'll know because you can count, you should be able to count 8 squares across, 10 squares up and down. Then you're going to use this grid to do a linear tracing, well, not tracing, just a linear drawing of your face. All right, and using a grid is something that, I mean, even little kids can do this. I mean, you look in like kids' coloring books and activity books, and they have little activities of copy this drawing of Dora the Explorer with using a grid. I mean, it's, you know, once the only thing you got to keep in mind is that the grid on your paper has to match the grid of your photo. So you just need to have the same number of squares and they need to be the same measurements. Using a grid is very helpful in art because you can use it to make any size piece of artwork you want. You can convert the ratios, like you can do like on your photo, 1 square equals 1 inch by 1 inch. You can blow that up to 1 square equals 6 feet. So if you want to do like a giant mural or something, you know, you could use that photo to that grid to blow things up. All right, and you're going to be using grids a lot next year if you take Art 2 or if you wind up going in AP Art. Grids are a very handy way to copy a photo over for accuracy. Now, personally, I am reluctant. I don't like people to rely on grids too much for drawing. I am a believer of you should just be able to look at something and draw it. But grids are useful and they are a valid way of doing things. So it is worth knowing how to use them. I just don't like it when people only know how to draw by gridding. Okay? So that's basically it. Now, personally, in the past, I have printed out portraits for people and people have worked from the printout. However, I think it's handy to just have your computer open and have Photoshop open and work directly from your monitor because this way you can zoom in and zoom out. You can't do that with a printout. However, if you want a printout of this, the problem is the grid will not show up right now on a printout. The grid as it stands right now is only visible in Photoshop. If you want this grid to be visible on a printout, you'll need to create a new layer in this image, which is right here, this button. Create new layer. Click on that. Got a new layer down here. And what you'll want to do is get your pencil tool. Sometimes it's bundled with the brush tool. Brush does anti-alias Pencil does not. So go to pencil, select a color down here. Down here at the bottom of your toolbar is your color picker. If you double click on that, you can select whatever color you want. But honestly, I would just keep it to, black or white because it's a black and white photo. And then you're going to want to hold down Shift and basically drag it, and it's going to create a grid for you. Now, in this case, that's kind of wide. I'm going to use my bracket key here next to the P key, make my brush size a little smaller. And again, you got to hold down Shift and then click and drag, and it'll give you a nice straight line. And then you basically got to trace over all of these lines like that. But keep in mind, I am doing this on a separate layer. So see, I can turn this layer off and the lines go away. Then once you're finished doing all the grid lines, you can print it out and it'll show up on your. Okay, so that's it though, in a nutshell. That's what you do. All right. So I have recorded this. Hopefully it showed up and it worked. And so if you need to refer back to this, I'll make it available to you. All right, so any questions on any of that we just did? Okay. I lied to you. I said that was going to take 5 minutes. It took almost 30, so I apologize. But now you know. So that's all we got for that. End video.